Hello and welcome to the HoustonTexans.com podcast.
You're listening to Off the Turf with Scurf with your host Nick Scurfield of HoustonTexans.com. This is episode 6 of the podcast. We took a break for a couple of weeks, but back now with Texans fullback / tight end James Casey. We normally do 2 guests on the podcast every week, but the interview with James ended up going so long that decided to just do one and let him tell his whole story. It's a fascinating story that James has, not only on the field where he's one of the Texans' most versatile players, but off the field as well. Here he is. The guy who's always here at Reliance Stadium, fullback / tight end, James Casey. Been on a media hiatus all offseason, so very honored to have you here on Off the Turf with Scurf, the podcast. How you doing, James?
I'm doing great. It's my pleasure. Yeah, I have been kind of flying under the radar, not really trying to stay out of the media a little bit, just want to go about my business and plan on having a huge year, but I just wanted, the football to talk. Yeah. But you talked me into it, so I'm doing this now.
Well, I appreciate that. For anybody listening, James is not your typical NFL player, as you're probably familiar with. We're going to dive into your background story in a few minutes. I think it's one of the most interesting, maybe in the entire NFL. But I said a minute ago, you're always here at the stadium, and right now it's 2:17 p.m. When we're doing this interview. And you see a lot of players filtering through the locker room during the offseason. You guys are on a break between minicamp and training camp starting next week. But it seems like every time I walk through the locker room, if it's 9 a.m. or if it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you're sitting there at your locker, you're walking to the training room or walking to the locker room.
Yeah, I mean, I try to take it seriously that trying to be the first one here, the last one to leave, and I get here really early. I get here at sometimes I get here like 5 o'clock or 5:30 a.m. It's usually Shab and I are the two first guys here. We're early risers. We get here early, and then I like to stay extra because I want to make sure I don't have any regrets about football. So I want to watch film and work out, and it's just a great place to be here too. But I do love my family as well. To clarify, they're out of town right now, so I don't have any really reasons to go home. I'll just be sitting there by myself, driving myself crazy in my room just researching stuff. So it's better to be here, and at least I'm getting better being here.
So you're not avoiding the family is what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm not avoiding the family. They understand too. I mean, you can't play football forever, so I'm going to make sure I do as much as I can now, so when it ends, I know I did everything I could.
With all the film work, all the working out that you're doing, what's your focus? What's on your mind that you're trying to get better at this offseason?
Well, I don't have, I guess anything really specific that I want to get better. I just want to be a better football player. I want to be, I got a lot of confidence. I feel great, the best I've ever felt going into a training camp. I'm healthy, and I feel like, I'm confident. I'm excited about the team and the season. So, I just want to, I know we got a great team, and I don't want to be that guy that, that lets us down. I want to be that spark that helps us, that guy that can, make himself better in the offseason, that can push us over the hump and get us to where we want to go. So, we're expecting big things this year, and I want to make sure I put in the work in the offseason to get, you're obviously trying to get bigger, stronger, faster. That's what everybody's doing, and that's the basis of it. But you can also learn little technique stuff when you're out there running routes, and when you're watching film, you're just self-scouting yourself, watching your own film, your own practices from OTAs, and seeing what you can do better when training camp starts, because it's going to start in a week, and once it starts, I mean, it's survival of the fittest. It's it's who's gonna make the team, see who's going to help the team win, and you got to make sure you're one of those guys and you're ready to go from day one.
It looks to me like you've been getting bigger every offseason. Is this the strongest that you think you've ever been as a football player?
Yeah, I have. I've been, just maturing, getting older now. I'm 27 now. I'm going into my 4th year, which is hard to believe that I'm already going into my 4th year. But, yeah, and I'm so much more mature and just, as you grow up, you get man strength, I like to say. And then I got dad strength. When you have a kid, you get stronger. Just all of a sudden you get dad strength. And it's just I'm getting those type of strengths just from being old. Like when you're wrestling with your dad when you're a kid, like you can't believe how strong your dad is.
Yeah.
You're like, how are you this strong? You never work out, but that's what I've got now. I've got dad strength, so I'm trying to put that to use.
Dad strength, and you do work out a lot.
And I do work out, so hopefully it's double.
Yeah. Well, you're a man of many roles. You were a tight end your first 2 seasons. You moved to fullback last offseason and started the season out there playing really well. What was that transition like for you, and what's it like for you? Because you still play a lot as tight end as well. You do a lot. You motion all over the place. What's it like for you right now playing all those spots?
It's great. I love it. I take it. I try to embrace it. I understand. My role is to be flexible and to be versatile with what I'm doing at tight end or fullback, and that's what I think that I can do best to help the team is to play multiple positions and kind of make us flexible as an offense, and also play a lot of the special teams too. That's what a lot of people don't really consider the special teams too much, but they're major contributors in the game, and that's I take it all in stride. I study a lot because you got to know the fullback and the tight end position and all the special team stuff. But that's the guy I am, anyways. I'm always going to be in the playbook and always going to be watching film and making sure I'm on top of things. So it's just I'm trying to get an advantage any way I can to help the team and what I do best, and that's kind of my competitive advantage is being versatile and just inherently when I came in the league, I did a bunch of different stuff in college too.
Mm-hmm. Well, some of the guys that you shared time with last year are now gone. Lawrence Vickers at fullback, you guys kind of split some reps there, and then tight end Joel Dreesen, you played with for so long, signed with the Denver Broncos, and like you mentioned, it's your fourth year, last year of your rookie contract. I'm sure you got to be looking at this as a really big year for yourself, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking to have I'm expecting myself to have a huge season. I feel great. I'm excited about the season getting started, and I hear everybody talking about it's my last year of my contract. We got a lot of people that are up, but that's the first thing from my mind right now. I got I'm going to my fourth season, but this is a big year just for the Texans, and I'm looking to have a big year, and I'm excited about it. And we're going to start in a week, so I'm ready.
I think there's going to be a book written about this one day, or maybe a movie made as well. You overcame a major tragedy early on in your life. You played minor league baseball a few years. You ended up going to Rice and then coming to the Texans as a 24-year-old rookie, if I'm not mistaken. But let's go back. Let's start with tell me about your hometown of Azle, Texas.
Yeah, Azle, Texas, God's country. It's a beautiful area. I love the town. It was great to me. But from the beginning, I grew up extremely poor, like living in trailer houses and just didn't have anything at all. But I don't like to talk about that much because there's a lot of people that come from really bad situations. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me. I was poor growing up. There's a lot of people like that, and then. My mother passed away when I was a sophomore in high school in a fire that burned down the trailer that I was living in. So I literally had nothing my sophomore year of my high school. That was it. And it was obviously a tough time, but I ended up doing, to make a short story about the high school, I ended up doing really well in baseball and football. I got hurt my senior year of football. I tore my knee up and I had to have 2 surgeries. So I basically missed my entire senior year of football. And so I didn't really, I didn't get any scholarships to colleges at that point. And they knew I was really good at baseball because I had a phenomenal junior year in baseball. Going into my sophomore year, I pitched on the JV team, and then I was hit really well, and I got called up to varsity at the end. And then going into my junior year of baseball, I was, nobody thought anything about it because I was just a JV player that got caught up at the end. And we had 2 that were decent pitchers, and I was like the 3rd pitcher. And I pitched in a preseason game, one of those we went and played like Flower Mound, I think, and it was just a scrimmage, so it didn't count. But I pitched like the first inning. I gave up like 9 runs my junior year. But first game I pitched, I was just getting hit all over the place. And they didn't count, though, because it didn't count as the season. It was just a practice kind of deal. So the coach was like, they were kind of, not really excited to put me in as a pitcher. So we played our first tournament of the season after that. And I thought I was throwing pretty hard, but nobody really, it's hard to tell sometimes between like 80 and like low 90s. We get into the first game, and we get into the first tournament. Our first 2 pitchers throw, the first 2 games. We get into our 3rd game, and it's a tournament. You play back-to-back-to-back, so you got to have somebody else pitch. So they let me pitch that game. And I was playing shortstop as well, so I pitched the 3rd game, and I ended up throwing a no-hitter that game with like 13 strikeouts in 6 innings. My very first varsity game. And so that was just like out of nowhere. They were not expecting that at all. And I never had any coaching whatsoever in pitching. Like I just threw it, all self-taught. And then we go into the second game that I pitched, my second time to pitch. I had a no-hitter going again until the last inning, and I finally gave up one little blue pit the last inning of the second game. And it was kind of all over from there. Towards the end of the season, we were playing a team in Northwest, and somebody finally clocked me because I never had any scouts, but there was a college guy at that point, my junior year, like at the end of the season, and they clocked me at 91 at the very end of the game. And that's when it all started, when I knew I was throwing in the 90s. And my coach, I remember distinctly riding the bus home after that game, and my coach called me up. He's like, hey. He called me up to the front of the bus, and I was like, what did I do? But he was like, hey, because I didn't know how hard I was throwing. He's like, yeah, there was a scout here today, and he told me that he clocked you at 91 in the last inning. He's like, there's going to be a lot of people probably start talking to you now about like summer league baseball and professional baseball in colleges and stuff. And it was all, he was right. From there, like everybody started like coming and watching me throw, and I just started throwing harder and harder. And then, I'm talking a ton about just high school, but going into my senior year of football, it was the year I got hurt in football. So we had a great team. We would have been good, I thought, really good. I got hurt. I didn't really play at all. So then, then I just knew I was going to do baseball. I ended up getting drafted in the 7th round, though, out of high school to the White Sox, which, like I told you, I came from literally nothing. I was like, I'm rich. I'm famous. I'm rich. I got drafted in the 7th round. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to play in the big leagues. I'm going to be a superstar. I'm going to go to all-star games. And I got a signing bonus out of high school when I was 18 years old of $120,000. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, to me, that was like $1 million. Luckily, I got a financial advisor right then that, he came and helped me out. And so I just he took care of it. I invested it really well, and it lasted me all the way until I got to the Texans. When I was in high school, I graduated high school after I had that really good year, May 31st, I think, maybe something like that. And then the draft is June 3rd, like a couple of days later. So I'm 18 years old. I haven't really been hardly anywhere. and I got drafted in the 7th round. I was just like listening on the internet because the Major League draft, nobody cares like after like the first round, the first couple of picks. 7th round, I was like, that's pretty good. I was telling everybody if I get drafted in the top 10 rounds, I was telling scouts, I was like, yeah, if I get drafted in the top 10 rounds and you offer me fair money, like I'm going to sign.
Yeah.
Because that's just a lot about signability in high school. And so I got drafted June 3rd, and then I signed my contract like 4 days later. And this is all still like a week after I just graduated high school. And then I left like a couple days after that because you start the season just right away, straight from high school, my high school graduation to straight to minor league baseball. First year I did pretty well, but I didn't have like any money at all when I got to Bristol, Virginia. I was 18 years old. I've only flown like one time before that for some scholarship thing in high school. So I got there, and minor league baseball is crazy in that there's like 6 different teams on each organization.
Yeah.
There's like rookie ball, low rookie, high rookie, low A, high A, double A, and then triple A. And you get there, and you're there. You're paired with. There's a lot of Dominican players. They don't speak English, and there's some high school guys. There's some college guys, and you got a little hotel, and you got like 3 days basically to find out. You practice those 3 days before the season starts, but then you got to find out where to live, and you got to live with some people or something. You get together and find some place to live, and you got to pay for that. And I was only making $850 a month. That's all you make in the minor leagues the first year. It's probably more now, but you don't get your signing bonus for a while after you sign. It takes weeks or so to get through. So I didn't have really any money, and I had to find somewhere to live. And I ended up getting lucky. Like I ended up talking to some guy that was like 23, just graduated from A&M, and another guy who was like 23 or 24 or around that age, and he graduated from Vanderbilt. And I asked those guys if I could live with them, and I got lucky because they said, yeah. I mean, put myself in those shoes. I don't know if they would, wanted me to come, some 18-year-old kid to come live with them, but so I got like a sleeping bag. I had money to get a sleeping bag, so I basically had a sleeping bag, and that was it. And then some people from home, from back in Azle, sent me like a care package of like beef jerky and like some tennis shoes and stuff, and I was like living out of a box of like beef jerky, and I was like a mile from the stadium, so I'd walk to the field every day and then walk back. And I eventually walked past this place, took a different route, and they were selling bicycles, so I got a bicycle for like $15, and I started riding that back and forth. And it's just, the minor leagues is crazy. You're riding buses everywhere, and I ended up because after the game you got to find something to eat. I don't have anywhere to all I have is a little bike. There's like a Crystal's hamburger place right across the street, and they sell those miniature hamburgers.
The Chicks, I think. It
was something like
Crystal
that.
Chicks,
yeah. I had to go to, and all I had was my bike, and it wouldn't register on that little, it wouldn't, to the drive-through.
Yeah.
It was already closed inside, so I had to walk up there and just like knock on the window to get something to eat, and then I would just ride that bike all the way back. So it was a humbling experience, but it was a lot of fun playing minor league baseball. And then I ended up playing like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And didn't work out. I just I did well my first year, but after that, I was working on my mechanics because I had some funky delivery, and it just didn't work out. I ended up getting fired by the White Sox because I was sitting at home. It was 2 weeks after I got married. I was married at 21, and 2 weeks after that, I'm like, okay, everything's going good. I'm playing professional baseball. I'm hopefully going to make it to the major leagues. And so then I get married, and then 2 weeks later, I get a call from the Lincoln Salt Dogs, which is like an independent team. And I'm like, what the heck is the Lincoln Salt Dogs called? Do you want to play baseball for us? And I'm like, what? So then I checked my voicemail, and I got a voicemail from some White Sox guy saying that, we don't think you're going to make the major leagues with us, and it just didn't work out.
So that was how you got cut, basically.
Yeah, I got fired. I got
fired
fired
on a voicemail.
Yeah, the way I knew I got fired basically was when I heard the Lincoln Salt Dogs called me.
Wow.
And I was like, what the heck, the Lincoln Salt Dogs? That's a pretty sweet name, but what's going on here? Like, they were an independent team.
So you mentioned your wife, and you talked earlier about how you had nothing after the tragedy with your mother. Where did your wife come into the picture? What did you do after all that happened, back in your sophomore year in high school?
Oh, yeah, it was, when I was in high school, I've always been very driven, like even just academically, so I still made really good grades and did well in sports after that, even though I was really down for a while. But I ended up, I met my wife the next year, my junior year of high school. She moved into town, so we started dating our junior year of high school. And then I kind of like, her mom kind of took me in for a little while, and I also lived with my trainer in high school, my athletic trainer, for a while. They took me in, and I lived with them for a little while, and then I lived with my wife at the time, his mother, for a while. I lived with them for a while too. I kind of went back and forth a little bit, and then ended up just staying with them, and they ended up helping me out. And then the whole city of Azle helped me out, because even when I lost everything, I didn't have any money, or I didn't have ways to get clothes. But I think they started some kind of fund in the city to they raised a bunch of money. I don't know how much it was, but they raised a bunch of money, and people sent clothes and stuff that I could use, and then they sent me some money to buy some clothes and football stuff and baseball stuff. And I had a lot of people help me out, like buying me like cleats and stuff for football season. and my athletic trainer bought me like baseball cleats and a baseball glove and stuff like that so I could play. And, I had a ton of people in the town help me out, and because you can't do it by yourself, regardless of how, motivated you are in anything. And then when you have a tragedy like that, it's always great to see, mankind, like human nature, just people wanting to help out.
What the thing that happened with your mother, how did that affect your mindset? Did it affect the way you approach things or anything like that in your daily life?
Yeah, absolutely. It affected my mindset and the way I think about things. Like early on, I was just depressed. Not necessarily depressed, but I was just, like, why did this happen to me? It's such a terrible thing. Like, what am I, what's the point of doing much of anything anymore? But then I finally, this happened for like a week. I didn't go to school for like a week. I didn't do anything. I didn't want to see anybody. And then I eventually come to the realization, like, she wouldn't have wanted me to just hang my head and feel sorry for myself and, walk around complaining about everything and whining about how bad of a situation I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized she would have wanted me to, to pick myself up, and, she'd wanted me to be successful and, make something of myself. So after I kind of realized that, then I was like, it's all right to keep going and keep working hard, and try to be successful. And that's kind of like, been somewhat of my, my mindset this entire time, is just, trying to make her proud, trying to make, my family proud, my wife. And just another thing that motivates you is you're always trying to find things to motivate you, when you're playing sports or when you're doing anything. Just constantly just have things that are in your mind that keep you going, especially in football wise, when stuff gets tough, when coaches are yelling at you or the fans are yelling at you because you do something stupid and everyone hates you, but you still, you just keep working and hope it works out.
So you have your minor league baseball career. Was it 3 years you were with the White Sox?
It's like 3 or 4 years, yeah.
3 or 4 years, and you get the call from the Lincoln
Salt Dogs called me out.
Salt Dogs or Salt Dogs?
Salt Dogs called me out. I didn't end up playing for them, though. Playing for the Fort Worth Cats, which is an independent team. After I got fired by the White Sox, I played for this independent team, which is professional. It's like kind of like semi-pro. I was getting $1,000 a month. I was the youngest guy in the entire league. I was getting $1,000 a month, and it was in my hometown pretty much. It was Fort Worth, is real close to Azle. And I told myself going into that season, though, I was like, James, like, if you don't just dominate in this league, even though I was young, like, if you don't just, because it's not even affiliated with the major league team.
Yeah.
If you don't dominate in this league, you're going to have to go, get an education. And since you're going to have to go to school, because, that's the best thing to do, that you might as well try to play football.
Yeah.
So I was like, I just told myself, I just came up with it. I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. And the reason I'm here, I obviously did not do well with the Fort Worth Cats. Didn't do good again. I was a mess. I was just wild. I still threw really hard. I've always had a really good arm, and until I tore my pec last year. Now I can't throw really well at all. But
yeah, I remember seeing you throw 60-yard passes, 60-yard bombs in pregame against the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I had it back. I was feeling, because my first 2 years in the NFL, my arm was like, because all the blocking and stuff. But I had it back. And last year, I had it back before I got hurt. Like in that Minnesota preseason game, I wasn't playing, so I was just messing around pregame. I threw in like 74 yards, and I was like threw from the 50-yard line through the upright, like into the net. I finally had my arm back. I was feeling great. I was thinking like, man, I bet I could like go pitch again if worse came to worse. Anyways, I didn't do well with the Fort Worth Cats, but I've always worked, like, once I got out of high school, I'm the type of guy, like, if I decide to do something, I'm like 110%. I'm like obsessed with it, some things. So, and once I decided that I was probably gonna play football, I started working out like a football player, even though I was playing baseball that 1 year. And I took a football with me everywhere I went in that independent league with the Fort Worth Cats. You could ask those guys. I'd take a football, and Luke Hochever happened to be on that team, who ended up being the #1 overall pick off of that independent baseball team. But I would take a football, and there would be guys that would run routes for me, like on the baseball team. And I would work out all the time, and I'd go there before we had to do baseball stuff, and I'd throw the football, and I'd run extra, and I was just like I was kind of like practicing football while I was playing professional baseball. It was kind of a weird deal, but
how did you end up at Rice University playing football?
I got fired from the Fort Worth Cats again. I wasn't doing very well. I was like, Jesus, this is not working out.
It's a recurring theme here.
Went to Laredo, basically got fired again. Like I was throwing hard. It wasn't clicking. I wasn't a pitcher or whatever. Got fired again. Well, basically the manager was like, hey, we're gonna release you because we're gonna bring in some other guy that we want to sign you back in a couple of days. Can you just hang around Laredo? And I was like, no chance. I'm done playing baseball. I'm gonna go to school. And luckily it was in a time because I had enough time to kind of like try to get information out and like go to work a little bit before the spring semester started. So I started sending out just information everywhere. Like I write like a letter, kind of just like explaining my situation, like who I am, what I think. I was like running 40s, like trying to see what I'd run a 40, and like doing bench press and like seeing what I thought I could do. Because the only thing I really know of is like the combine, the NFL combine, that I see like how they test those guys. So I'm basically like putting myself through a combine because I gotta recruit myself no one's going to go looking for a baseball player.
Right.
So I got to recruit myself. So I started just doing like what I think people at the combine do, and like writing it down, and I got like a little bit of high school film. It was like by this time I'm 21, I think. So I'm already out of high school for a while.
Probably wasn't the best quality of film.
Wasn't good quality at all. And there was only like 5 games that were on there that from my high school. I had like 5 games, and they were like not even, I did a couple good things in those games, but they weren't like my best games. And I tried to piece together that just some dude I met like did it for me. It was like so unprofessional. It was just some guy like did it, but it looked decent. And then my wife was like, "You need to take a picture, of yourself to show them what you look like." And so that's what they do at the combine. We're naive. We don't know what we're doing. And I'm like, "How do you like?" So I was like, "I don't want to do this. This is corny. This is going to be."
Picture yourself in your underwear, right?
Yeah, not like in tights like they do at the combine. I was like, "This is corny. Like if I send this picture, they're going to be laughing so hard, and they're going to be like, no way we're letting this guy play for us, or no way we're even talking to this guy." But I ended up doing it. I was like, you know what? Who cares? Like, and I blew it up. It was like 8 by 10. It was a pretty big size picture. It was like the first thing or it was like the very last thing. I was like, they're not gonna look at this. And so I sent it out to everywhere, like Texas, U of H, TCU, North Texas, every single Texas school I could think of. And they have player questionnaires too on each website, a football website. So I filled out all of those. I'm pretty confident that no one looks at those because I filled out every one of them, and I was putting some good stuff down. I was like they got to at least be impressed with this, like or this or that, or. I was
nothing.
Yeah. No, nobody contacted me back. But I finally got a couple people. I got a couple bites. Like from TCU, I ended up going to their campus and talked to Coach Patterson for a second, and got to watch their practice for a little bit. The recruiting cater talked to me, and they were like, "Well, I mean, you can walk on here, but it was nothing major." I went to like Tarleton State, which is like a D2 school. I went to junior college, Cisco Junior College, and even those places weren't like. They were like, "Yeah, I mean, we like you, but you can walk. We'd like you to walk on here, maybe." They weren't even that excited. And, I went to like I got in front of some coaches, and just no one was really interested. Which I can't blame them that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't play for 4 years, and I didn't go to school for 4 years, so it's it'd be tough for them to just say, "Oh yeah, let's come here. We'll give you a scholarship."
Right.
That's exactly what Rice did, though. I ended up giving that same information, a big packet I had, to a friend of mine who went to my high school who was younger than me, but he ended up walking on at Rice. A real smart kid who got in there, and he's graduated now. And he gave that package that I gave to the receivers coach. That same package I've been sending around everywhere and having no responses basically from anybody.
Yeah.
So I gave it to the receivers coach, and after the fact, he kind of told me the story about what happened, about the after I was already out of Rice kind of.
Yeah. What did he say?
He said that he got the package, the receivers coach, and he looked at the film a little bit for a couple minutes, threw it away. He's like, nothing, wasn't impressed. Looked at all the letters, wasn't impressed or whatever. And then he got to the back where that picture was, and he looked at the picture and he's like, well, I might as well show this to the head coach, just to show him what this guy looks like. And he took it to the head coach, and the head coach was like, whoa. He's like, he's like, we don't got a guy that looks like that. We're going to talk to this guy. So I get to Rice, and for this official visit, I don't even know what official visit is. I don't even know how scholarships work really. I thought football scholarships were some people get 5% scholarships, some people get 50%, some people get 30%. It just kind of depends on how good you are. That's how much percentage they give you a scholarship.
Right.
So I'm going in maybe I can talk these guys into giving me a 10% scholarship or something, and then I'll get a big loan because Rice is expensive. I'll get a big loan and pay for the rest. I was like, maybe all I need is them just to give me a little bit of percentage. That at least shows that they want me to come there compared to anybody else. Nobody else is giving me anything.
Right.
I just want a little bit of percentage, and I'll be happy. And I go in, and we stay at the Westin, which is a nice hotel. I'm like, what? I have a key to get into the bar area at the bottom with all the candy bars and stuff. I don't mess with that because I'm like, no way. If I do this, they're gonna just kick me out if I eat any of this stuff. So I ended up they have their team meetings the night before, so they walk me through the team, and this whole time I'm trying to be a quarterback. I was throwing the receivers with the baseball team, and I'm presenting myself as a quarterback, trying to get a scholarship as a quarterback. And I go to the football game and end up beating East Carolina on a crazy play. Jarrett Dillard made an unbelievable catch, and Chris Johnson was the running back for East Carolina at that time. He ran a touchdown.
Who you now play against with the Titans?
Yeah. So now I play against. Yeah, I was just some guy, 21-year-old dude with my wife there, just watching this game, not even knowing an official visit is. Not talking to anybody because the other recruits 18 years old. I think they purposely probably didn't put me with the young kids, and ended up they win. So we go out to eat with the coaches or whatever that night. Kind of whatever officially they don't. Most recruiting visits they put you with another current player on the team and they take you out or whatever. I'm married and I got my wife with me. They don't put me with another player. I just go out with the coaches I'm an adult basically. I think I might have been 22 at the time. then I go into Coach Graham's office, who's the coach at the time, and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, this is the moment of truth. Like, maybe they're going to offer me some kind of scholarship. Maybe they're just going to tell me, we really enjoy you coming down. We'll be in contact with you. I didn't know how it worked. But I sat down there, and he starts talking to me, and he's like, yeah, we're very, very impressed with you. We like your attitude. I did really well in high school, which, that's why I'm so big on academics, too. Because I did well in high school, I was able to go to Rice. And then he just drops the bomb on me. He's like, we're gonna offer you a full scholarship. And I was like, full scholarship, like full, like everything? Like, he's like, yeah, everything is paid for. And Rice is like, a lot of money to go to Rice. It's a private school. It's a lot of money. And he said, but there was a caveat to it. He said, we want you to play linebacker or strong safety. I've never played defense before, ever. I was a quarterback. That's it. And I was like, I was going to say yes right there, and he was like, "No, well, we need to know by next week," because it was getting really close to the spring semester. I had to really hurry to get in there, and I started driving home and talking to my wife, and I'm like, I can't pass up a full scholarship to Rice University, regardless of what position I'm playing. Mm-hmm. My whole mindset was I'm getting into Rice, and then I'm going to play defense if they want me to play defense, but I'm going to try to talk them into moving me to the offensive side. And I ended up calling that next Monday or that next early in the week and just said I'm going to commit to Rice for a full scholarship, and it was just unbelievable experience. Like that one trip, that one day, just completely changed my life. I went from working at the gym, having no job, being an ex-minor league baseball player, to having a full scholarship at Rice, to play defense. Even though I was playing defense, I was like, I got another chance, basically.
So that's how James Casey got to Rice University. In the second half of the podcast here, he talks about what happens after he got to campus, how he switched from defense to offense, ended up playing many positions along the way before he ended up with the Houston Texans.
So I get to Rice. I haven't done any school for 4 years, and I'm like, there's no way I'm going to pass the classes. I was a pretty smart kid in high school, but I haven't done anything. I haven't done math or anything in 4 years. And one of my first classes was calculus that I had. I signed up for a bunch of hours, and so I ended up going there and signed up for all these classes. And I was like, oh man, I was terrified. I was like, I'm going to fail out and I'm going to ruin my opportunity. But luckily, I read a bunch of books before I went to Rice, and just motivational stuff, and so I had a complete new mindset when I went to Rice. I was a different person compared to when I played minor league baseball when I was 18, because I was worrying about what everybody else was doing when I was playing minor league baseball, how good everybody else was, and I was like, that's going to hurt me if they're doing good, and I just wasn't as confident as I should have been. So when I went to Rice, I was like, I'm not worried about what anybody else does. I'm going to make sure I have no regrets regardless of what happens. I'm working out more than anybody in the country. This is only 4 years. It's like a business trip for me. This is 4 years. I'm gonna work out every single day, do as much as I possibly can. I'm not gonna have any regrets. And I was like, honestly, I'm not gonna take a lot of crap from anybody either. From anybody. I'm gonna be confident when I go in there, and I'm gonna, show them that I can, almost demand that I'm gonna be, successful here. There was a guy in there that came with me. It was only me and this other guy that were the new guys for the spring, and he left the second day because it was so hard. The workouts were extremely hard. And then he left the second day. The third day, the head coach leaves, which is another shocker. The guy that gave me the scholarship, that was gave me the chance, he just left. Never. After he gave me that scholarship, I didn't talk to him. Wow. Never talked to him again. By the time I got there, and then he left and he went somewhere else. And I didn't know if my scholarship was still gonna. I thought if the coach leaves and gives you a scholarship, then your scholarship
might be in jeopardy.
Yeah, I might be in jeopardy. Another coach is gonna come in and but I finally realized it's pretty much guaranteed. So I ended up going to practice at linebacker still, the first day in practices. And after the first day, I was the biggest linebacker, so they moved me to defensive end. And I played defensive end for the entire spring and ended up being starting defensive end, but kept talking to the coach, kept throwing after practice every day, showing him I could throw. Every single day I would stay extra and throw, until it got dark. And I just kept, every time I saw him, I'd say something about quarterback, Coach, I think I can help better at quarterback. And he eventually watched me throw, and he eventually pulled the trigger, and he said, "Yeah, I've talked to the defense coach. This is probably a crazy decision, but we're going to move you to quarterback and let you try to play quarterback. Huh. We think you can help us there best." I guess my persistence got to him. So right before training camp started, they moved me to quarterback, and people on the team were like, "What's going on? This guy was playing defensive end. All of a sudden a quarterback." I was number 40. I went from number 40 to number 12 during training camp, within a week thing to playing quarterback. And we had a really good quarterback who did really well, and we ended up during training camp, we had a couple receivers get hurt, and they asked a couple of the backup quarterbacks, which I was, to play receiver. I'd never done that before either, and I ended up doing receiver stuff and did well. And then they started doing a wildcat quarterback kind of thing, which was called the Thor package, and then they just started calling me Thor around Rice, and then I ended up having halfway through the season, ended up having a breakout game against Southern Miss my freshman year.
Well, that was a game where you played at least 7 positions.
Yeah,
right?
I played 7 or 8 positions. I was all over the place.
Yeah, let's go through that. What positions did you play in that game?
I played leading up to that game. I didn't really play much at all. I played some receiver. I mean, I played some quarterback, wildcat quarterback, and some receiver. But I was a defensive spring, but I never practiced that after they moved me to quarterback. Like as the season got on, like we were lost like the first 6 games. We were bad. And I wasn't playing much. I was like, geez, why am I not in the game? And so they start, as practice goes, they start using me more like in practices, like as receiver and doing different things. And I guess finally, I'd be sporadically though. Finally, we got to that Southern Miss game. It was a Wednesday night game, and so we were the only people on TV. The only football game on TV was Wednesday night. It was at Southern Miss. We haven't won a game all year. And I guess that game, the coaches were like, let's give this guy a shot and let him play. So they just let me do like everything. Like I played quarterback early on in the game. We got down to like the goal line situation. We got down like inside the 20, and I played quarterback, and I like took like 4 straight snaps at quarterback and just ran the ball every time, and we ended up scoring on that drive. And then I played receiver. They threw me the ball a couple times as a receiver. I was playing running back some too because I started learning how to do handoffs. And then I was playing like a wing back, like a tight end kind of deal some too. So I was moving around.
Okay, that's 4.
And then I was like I was a holder on field goals, and they let me, and I started being on the punt team too, like as the guard,
offensive lineman. All right.
And then that's
6 positions right there.
6 or 7 right there. And so it's kind of a random combination. I was like punt returner, guard, holder. Like you don't see that combination very much. Quarterback, wide receiver.
Play defense too,
third
right?
quarter, yeah.
Okay.
So we get into the third quarter. During the week, I haven't practiced defensive end at all since I got moved after spring practices. So this is like 6 games into the season or something. I haven't done anything. But I still remember the calls kind of because we have like a wristband system. And then early in that week, they were like, hey, we got some defensive ends that are hurt. We're kind of really hurting on numbers. You think in a pinch, like you could play defensive end, just in case? And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, yeah, I'd love to. I was like, any opportunity. I was just trying to take advantage of any opportunity I had to get on the field. So I had my little wristband. Like during the game, I'm an offensive player. So during the offense, we're driving on the field or whatever. And then when the defense got up, I would just go stand next to the defensive coach, the coordinator, like trying to get him to put me in the game. And he never puts me in until first half. Like I don't play much at all. I don't play at all on defense. I play all the other stuff. But I always go stand next to him like every single drive. And then going into the third quarter, I go stand next to him again. And I see a guy. I'm looking out there like these guys are exhausted because we only had like a couple of guys at that point. Cause we just had freak injuries. Like everybody's getting hurt. And I can see they're dead tired. I'm like, let me go in. Like I know how tired they are. And finally he said, go in. It was like a third down. And I ended up just like running out there and like getting whoever it was. And he was like, what is going on? Like this guy's gonna come get me?
Defensive end.
Defensive end.
Okay.
I took the guy out. I'm number 12, a quarterback. So all of a sudden I run in a defensive end. The very first play they run some kind of reverse. And I'm like full of energy. I'm like, I can't believe I'm on defense. I like chased the dude down for like a tackle for loss. And then like I played like 5 plays on defense, I think, that game. And then like 2 plays later, or the next drive or whatever, there was another situation. They brought me in again, and they had me do like some kind of stunt where I come inside.
Yeah.
And it was a passing situation. So on the snap, I come just running as fast as I can inside against Southern Miss, and I just like run over the offensive guard and sack the quarterback. And it was just like, and I didn't, it's just an unbelievable game. We ended up winning the game. It was our first win of the season at Southern Miss, and I didn't think much of it. I was like, this is pretty cool. I played offense, defense, did some different stuff, and then the next day, like I was on Jim Rome, I was on Sports Center. Like Stuart Scott was like spot shadowing me on offense and defense, and
wow.
And I didn't know any of this until like the next day because you have the long flight back, and I went to school, and then I walked into the cafeteria the next day, and like everybody starts clapping, like the whole cafeteria starts clapping, and I'm just like, what? I'm just embarrassed, I'm kind of a shy guy. And so then from there, like, it's kind of when it started football-wise. I didn't play defense ever again, but I played receiver and ended up like freshman All-American. And then going into my second year of college was my sophomore year, and then I've kind of proved myself a little bit. So I'm going into my sophomore year as kind of like, one of the guys. And I had a phenomenal offensive coordinator, Coach Herman, and just our coaching staff was phenomenal. And they basically just like, they designed the offense around me. Like we'd have like a number system, and it'd be like where I lined up. Like we'd have formations, then a number system. We went to empty. I was basically the running back, but they would have number systems to line me up at wide receiver. So I could play running back, but I could also go out to wide receiver, and it'd be like 5 wide. We were just a wide open offense, and they let me do everything on offense. I played wide receiver. I played out wide at wide receiver. I played in the slot. I played running back, and I played a lot of quarterback too, just wildcat quarterback. Every time we got to short yardage, we did wildcat quarterback, and it was 3rd and 1, and they'd bring me. I was like, all I gotta do is get a yard, and I got 10 guys blocking for me. I was like, this piece of cake. I was like successful almost every single time. And then when we got into the end zone, we'd work all the way to get down to the end zone. If we got to the 1, it would be like Thor package. I'd get to go to quarterback, and I was scoring touchdowns, rushing touchdowns all the time. I ended up with 111 catches and like 1,300 something yards. I was like, an All-American in some polls, and just everything went perfectly. We were like 5th in the nation in passing at Rice, and we were 10-3 the first time in like a long time. We won a bowl game for the first time since 1961. Everything came together. And after that year, though, Jarrett Dillard, that guy that I watched, and Chase Clement, they both graduated, and they were done, and our offensive coordinator left, and our strength coach left, and I was only a true sophomore. I had 2 more years of eligibility, but I was 24. So I made a tough decision, but I was, talked with my wife, and we thought it was best to enter the draft, and I did, and ended up getting really lucky to stay right here in Houston with the Texans. And then I went to tight end, which is basically a whole nother position for me. So I played all those positions in college, but I never played tight end. I never got down a three-point stance on offense. And so that was a whole new position I had to learn through the draft, which probably hurt me in the draft a little bit, kind of a question mark, and never played fullback. And then once I get here as a tight end, now I'm moving to fullback too, just completely new positions, which is just kind of my story. I've always done like just all different types of positions, and just always have a good attitude about it, and just whatever they ask me to do.
I think there's a couple of positions you still haven't played yet, like cornerback and safety. We gotta see what we can do about that and get
there's
you out
certain
there.
positions I am aware of, my abilities, and I just can't play. So I'm just trying to stick with the ones that I have a chance to play.
Well, I want to talk about off the field at Rice. You're pretty diverse as well. You're triple major. Let me make sure I have this right. In economics, managerial studies, and sport management.
Yep.
You're a minor in business
And
as
minor
well,
in business,
correct?
yeah.
What was your GPA?
I think I ended to go back. Remember I was talking about how hard that first semester was going to be for me. I had like calculus. And I had some hard. I thought I was going to. I had a 4.0 first semester. I got all A pluses. It was like perfect. And because I was married, all I did was just football and school. Like I was just all I did. I just worked out all day and then just schoolwork. That's nothing. Most college students are wondering about their parties or chasing girls around or something like that. I was like an adult going to school basically. Yeah. And I ended up, my GPA was a 3.63 because I went back after my rookie year and after my sophomore year to graduate. I finally graduated now with a triple major and a minor with a 3.63, which is, it went down a little bit once I started playing football, because when I went back, I had a baby. At my last year to go to school, I had shoulder surgery. I had a baby. We were in the lockout, so I had to go work out, with Shab and them. I was working in the mayor's office as an intern. I had so much stuff going on, which kind of hurt my school a little bit. But 3.63, I'm happy with that. And I got 3 majors and a minor. I don't know why I did that. I just kept taking classes, and I always told myself I would go into a semester and take a class, and if it was too hard, I would drop it, because we had like a 2-week period to drop it. And I just never dropped them. I always thought I could pass them. I was like, I can pass. I can do well in this class. And I took 9 hours every summer. I was like, there was 3 classes every summer, so I was just cramming, all summer long doing school work. And
I ended
up graduating 6 semesters.
Yeah, that's 2 years when you were in school, and then 2 semesters in the springs when you went after, right? And then
so that's 3 years total.
Yeah, when you went back last spring and got your degree, and the year before that, after your rookie year, I've talked to you about this before, but did people recognize you very much in your class, or was the other Rice students that after you had come back and gone to school there?
No idea who I was. Yeah, no idea, because the classes I were taking were like economics classes, and there wasn't a lot of other athletes in there. They were just all like regular Rice students that are extremely smart, but they're may not know too much about football, but they're extremely intelligent. And I'm just in my classes, minding my own business, like sitting in the back. I go to class every day, but this is why I'm playing with the Texans. But I know how important getting a degree is, but nobody knows who I am. I never say anything. Nobody ever talks to me. And y'all asked to come film one day, the Texans.
Yeah, I think we busted your cover one day. We came with the camera.
Yeah, busted my cover because y'all asked to come film me in class one day just to show me a life like a day at school. So y'all's cameras come in there to class one day, and this is like almost at the end of the semester, and they're like, you all are looking at me, and during the class, and y'all interview me after class, and you interview the professor. The professor didn't even know I played football. I played the NFL, and it was a weird deal and then like the next day, like this or the next class we had, those students they thought like MTV filming. They didn't know what it was for. Like what were these cameras here filming you for? I had to tell them I play in the NFL, and they thought it was a cool story that I'm going back to school. It was a fun time. I'm glad I finished school. That was a lot of work in the off season.
Yeah, well, you love your alma mater obviously very much, and
Absolutely.
I know you go back to a lot of baseball games, and of course Rice has a very good baseball team. Now, I would think, and I think most people might think, if you're an NFL player going to a college game or going to a game, you might want to sit in a suite or away from all the crowds, but that's not. You like to sit right behind home plate and just mingle with all the people. I like to call you the mayor of Rice University, but why is that? Why do you like to sit back there?
I just love the Rice people. The minute I stepped foot on Rice to where I'm at now, that was like 2007. It's 2012 now. Like you look at like how much has happened in those 5 years. Like it's unbelievable what that university's done for me. Yeah, I love Rice, of course, and I love all the people too. The people are just great. Like, we're very small. Like, people don't realize, like, we're like the second smallest D1 school in the nation. If you had like every single living alumni that went to a football game, we still wouldn't like sell out our stadium. There's just not very many people. There's like, I think 3,000 people that go there, 3,000 students. But with how small we are, like, everybody's really proud of their university and proud of what we do. And you know, there's a lot expected of you. You know, when you graduate Rice, you're expected to go on and do great things, and so you just have that mindset to be successful when you go there and when you leave. And everybody there is just so nice, and they're all like really successful people. But I sat right behind home plate, and all the people around me are just great. And my son now, he's 2. I took him we went to a bunch of games this year, and they're all great. And I just let him run around like a wild man. Like, nobody says anything. Like, they're all nice to him, playing catch with him, and he just runs around through the stands like messing with people. And they tell him to come over and they play with him. And it's just great to have, like, you know, to know all those people are Rice alumni. You know, I know they're looking out for my best interest, because that's how Rice is. Like a lot of other colleges, but we're just so small and here in Houston that we're really, you know, looking out for each other.
Tell me about your son, Cannon. You just mentioned him a second ago.
Oh, he's a maniac. He's awesome. He's 2 now. He just turned 2 in May, and he's everything I could have asked for. He's he's phenomenal. He's already got a scholarship to Rice to play football. He's already got it. It's hanging up on the wall right now.
They offered him one?
Yeah,
they really offered him one?
They offered him one. I got it in my wall. I was
wow.
Gosh, it's a cool deal. It's framed up.
You got to hold him to that.
I'm holding him to it. I got it framed up just so I know I don't lose it, so I can take it to him down the road, because he's left-handed too as of now. You know, the baseball didn't work so well for me, but I feel like I can teach him. Like, I can teach him what not to do, as far as like baseball pitching wise. If he has my arm and it's on the left side, he's got a chance to be like a
left-handed pitcher.
If I'd have been left-handed, I'd have probably been drafted in the first round, because I was throwing so hard. So if he has that, I'm like, shoot, we're gonna go baseball, because I think they got like guaranteed contracts.
Yeah, I've heard of my alma mater, USC. Lane Kiffin gave a scholarship to like a 9th grader or 8th grader. But I've never heard of a 2-year-old getting a scholarship. That's impressive.
See, that's what I called Coach Bailiff up like that. I was like, you hear the story they're talking about? This USC guy at 13 getting a scholarship. Cannon got a scholarship literally before he was born. Like, he was like, he's going to get a scholarship. I gave it to him right away. Like, he's already got a scholarship, and he's left-handed too, but he's fun. He loves sports, which is perfect for a guy like me. And he's living up to his name so far. Cannon, he throws stuff everywhere. A lot of times at the wrong stuff, throws the wrong things, but as a 2-year-old does, but he's a lot of fun.
Well, very last question. Getting back to football for a second. Training camp starts in a week here. This will be your 4th season, like we talked about. It's a 2-part question. What are your hopes for yourself this season and for the Texans in 2012?
Hopes for myself is to go in right away and just, you know, show them that I'm ready to go from the first day, and I'm ready to play, whether it's fullback or tight end, and just get myself on the field some way and consistently be on the field. You know, be one of those guys that are contributors on the offense. Be one of those guys that are out there, you know, the majority of the offensive snaps, and that gets opportunities that, you know, I can show them out there. Like, if they give me chances to, you know, to throw the ball to me or to whatever, like, I want to make plays, and I want to be a difference maker on offense and be a starter, you know, and contribute and be, you know, at this point, I got a lot of confidence because I've been there. I've done just about everything, you know, offensively, and I want to show what I can do and become a great player instead of just being, you know, I'm not naive. I know I'm not one of these players right now that really across the country like nobody knows about. But, you know, this year I want to have like a huge breakout year. And the second question was about the team expectations. Every team thinks they got a chance to win the Super Bowl. They think they can win the Super Bowl, but I think it's rare to have like a real opportunity like I think we have. I think we have a championship caliber team. We have great players at all positions. We have everything in place. And, you know, we went through a lot last year that I think taught us a lot. We finally got into the playoffs. We got that experience. We tasted what it was like. And we went through all those injuries, and just guys were stepping up. And this year, you know, we're going into the season. It starts all over. You can't really talk about last year much. It starts all over. We know how much hard work it's going to have to take to get it done. And I think we got the right group of guys here to do something special. And I'm excited to be a part of it and ready to get started and really ready to get into those preseason games. And really, I can't wait until we finally get to that Miami Dolphins game. We finally get to start, and that's when it's going to begin. And just like we were last year, just trying to be 1-0, take it 1 week at a time, and try to finish it off this year. And, you know, not only get to the playoffs, but, you know, go all the way.
That's going to do it for this week's episode of Off the Turf with Scurf. This is your host, Nick Scurfield.